What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm excited to bring you another EDC Walk and Talk. I thought today I would be very efficient and meld it together with my actual April top pocket knives of the month. Hopefully this goes over well because I feel like we're going to run through those top 5 quickly, and then just wanted to talk briefly about a couple of little things in today's episode. So first and foremost, I think I need to adjust my lighting here. I picked up a second light for the background here, and I'm still debating on whether or not it's helping or hurting. I can't quite tell. Hopefully you guys can let me know if everything's coming through clearly on your end. But with that being said, let me go ahead and jump into my top 5 pocket knives of April. These are the ones that were in my pocket the most for April. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. At number 5 is going to be my Demco AD 20.5 knives. I just realized that's upside down. Whoops. I did pick up one variant of each, and I also here on the table today have another knife that is actually going to be replacing this one, but it is another Demco, but I don't want to give too much away, so that's your little spoiler alert for what is up and coming here soon on the channel. But I really do like these a lot. The scale upgrade and the pocket clip upgrade have really transformed these, and the skiff bearings are super duper smooth compared to the factory bearings. I have again another Demco here that I don't want to give away too much, but really you can tell the difference between the factory bearing and that bearing when you are using them together, like side by side, like for a comparison, because I was kind of curious. So these, I really do like these a lot. I'm thinking about trying, I talked to a subscriber recently, I think it was Blades and Fades. I apologize if I'm getting it wrong, but he had mentioned he found some scales for the Yojimbo 2 because we're having a hard time, or I'm having a hard time finding fat carbon for the Yojimbo 2 that I think that would look good on that knife. But anyway, he found one, they do an epoxy finish on it, which is really going to make it like a clear coat finish on the knife, and I'm kind of curious what that would look like, if it would help make that purple pop just a little bit more on this one, because I feel like with the Arctic Storm and some of the other colors you get a really nice contrast with the color, and the color pops. But I think because the gray and the dark purple, it really just masks the purple haze on this knife, and I wonder if the epoxy would help bring that color, because it does make the colors look more vibrant. But anyway, number 5 for the month of April was the Demco AD 20.5. Number 4 is going to be my Spyderco Shaman. Really love this knife. I got, again, fat carbon scales here. These are the dark matter. I really like these because the reflectivity make it look almost like it's 3-dimensional. I might be imagining that, but I feel like whenever I watch these in the videos and such, and I see it kind of moving around, I feel like because of the way the light catches on some of the shred, it almost looks like it's holographic or 3-dimensional. I did swap out for the M4, the Blade HQ exclusive M4, and the micarta was nice, but I really just love these skinny scales. I know I had, when I did the unboxing for this video and the review of the M4 for this video, I was debating getting it coated, but I decided to leave it alone. And my reason for that is, if anything were to fail and I wanted to send this in for warranty, with it being modded like that, I'm afraid that they wouldn't honor their warranty. I would just need to replace the scales and the pocket clip, send that to Spyderco, and I would be covered. I don't think anything would fail on this, and probably as time goes on I will probably change my mind and possibly get it coated. But I think it's kind of grown on me, the satin pop onto that dark handle scale. I think it does look pretty good. So for now, I think I'm just going to leave it as is. The M4 steel from Spyderco, it just performs really well. I've used it a little bit, but man, it just cuts through anything that I'm using it on like nobody's business. Not as much time with this as I had with Spyderco's S30V, but man, this is really good, and I really like the way this looks. Sat2 Dave picked up the CME from OCD for EDC, and I did have that on my Para 3. I thought about getting it and putting it on, but again, I go back to that if something were to fail warranty thing and I'd have to take it off. I think you can just re-glue it on, so it's not that big a deal. So I might pick one up because I would be curious of another way to be able to use this left-handed without having, to put the pinky there. Why is it stuck? Oh, that detent is so tight. That without having to put the pinky there to get it to close. It is acting a little odd today. It feels smooth, but I guess that's that detent might not be broken in yet. I didn't realize I had bumped that. But anyway, that is the number 4 most carried knife from May. I think I've been saying April. I am so sorry if I've been saying April. These are May's top carry. I forget we're in June. Top 5 carries for June. I'm probably going to have to make an edit early in the video because I think I've been saying April. These are May's top carry. Number 3 is going to be an oldie but a goodie, but man, I had gotten away from carrying it because I've had so many knives that I've been trying to carry for review, and I try to handle it like consecutively for consecutive days, so it makes it hard to pick up other knives sometimes, and that's what you're kind of seeing here are knives that I actually put in the pocket, and then I bring that other knife to handle it and fidget with it, and make some cuts with it, try to get impressions on the blade, steel, edge, geometry, etc. And I don't have time for the other knives, so what I've started doing is some of the dual carrying helps with that. Sometimes I'm actually carrying this out and about, and then I'll get home, and if I have to do something, I'm using the other knives, but I'm carrying these the most, and in all honesty, during the day, these probably get the most use and action because I'm going back to those other knives to get some impressions and some time with them. But the ZT 0562, I think I've already forgotten to mention that. 20 CV, this is a Hinderer design, but it is a ZT made blade, so I think this is a great way to experience ZT's take on Hinderer's design and support ZT. You're getting these for about $300, full titanium, 20 CV, excellent heat treat, edge retention, great geometry. It is thick on the back of the blade stock, but it's so tall and the grind is so thin on the edge, and it is such a gradual increase in thickness that this actually performs really well. This is still my favorite Hinderer design. I love the ZT 0562. That is what was number 3 for the most carried knives in May. Great knife, excellent value, USA made, $300. You can even find them for $280 when they do a sale sometimes, but their 20 CV has excellent heat treat. I think it has great action, and it's a really nice full-size use and a great option if you're looking at the Shaman. And this is a great comparison because even with the titanium and the carbon fiber scale side with the 20 CV, you're looking at a $280 to $300 knife, and people are like, Shamans are overpriced. But if you really think about it, even in the S30V with the smooth G10 for a full-size USA made knife, to get these for just over $200 is still a steal of a deal. I think people saw that these were being sold for $180, $190, $200, and they feel like they've gone up too high but look, when you consider what you're getting, you're getting titanium here, but you're paying an extra $80 to $100 for that titanium frame lock. You're getting sometimes micarta, always G10 at the very least. You're getting S30V, which is an excellent steel. The heat treat is 62, 63, 64 from Spyderco on some of their steels, which is actually way harder to grind. You're getting 59 to 61 from ZT, which is still, pretty solid. You'd like to see it at least being over 61 because that would make it so much stronger, but it is more expensive to do the grind afterwards. So from Spyderco, you're getting a higher heat treat, and thus it is costing more to manufacture, but it's still a USA made blade for just over $200, and it's a full-size knife. So I think when people get bent out of shape over the price of the Shaman, I think they're not really taking into consideration the market. They're just looking at how much the Shaman used to be to what it is now. You're paying $210, $220 for this. To get the recently released Demco 80 20.5 from from Nice Center, it is 3V still polymer handles, and it's $190. Yes, it's a shark lock, but this has the compression tension lock. So I think people are way too hard on Spyderco. I think they're priced extremely well still. Yeah, I would love for it to be cheaper. Who wouldn't? I'm just saying I think people get a little bent out of shape. So you kind of are seeing one of the topics that I wanted to get into today. But let me go ahead and finish out the list. Number 2 top carried in May was the Wee Beacon. Again, a very bug out style-esque thin blade. This one obviously is a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, which is one of the things that I like about it. It fits in the hand a little bit better. You get more blade steel. 20 CV is done pretty good from Wee. They run theirs, again, 59 to 61 like ZT. I'd love to see manufacturers starting at 61 heat treat for their knives. I know it's a little bit more expensive to grind, but I think if they needed to bump it 20 or 40 bucks to be able to accommodate that, I think the community would be okay with that, because that edge retention and the performance of the knife is probably just as important as the action. And in my opinion, and for me, the heat treat and the performance of the steel is more important. So I'd rather see, a slight $20 to $40 hike and seeing everything starting at 61 like what Spyderco is doing. It is a little bit more expensive these days for Spyderco, but their heat treat is superior to everything that you're seeing on the table and so many more other knives. And because it's more expensive to grind, you're seeing a $20 to $40 increase. And I know that the economy and the market are dictating that a little bit as well, but they were doing this before the economy turned, for lack of a better description. Back to the Wee Beacon, just a great knife, great EDC, has a beautifully done black wash on the handles, which actually keep it feeling a little matte and flat, so it's not silky smooth and as slippery. And then the flipper tab gives enough of a guard to keep the hand from coming forward too far. I'm not doing that hard, I'm just demonstrating that it does act like a nice stop. Really thin geometry, just a great knife, and definitely one of my favorite Wees right now. So that was the second most carried knife in May. We're going to get to number 1. Number 1 is because I had 2 of them. I was trying to, in May, carry it to form my opinion for the feedback. And that's not to say it's a bad knife, but that's why it's probably number 1 as opposed to being a little bit lower down on the list. And that is going to be the Cevivi Chevalier. Again, really nicely done 14C28N from Cevivi Wee. I can't even see where it is on the knife. Where in the world is the marking for the blade steel? I could have swore it was down in here somewhere, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. Plunge grind is a little bit deep. It goes a little far into the blade. I wish it was just a little bit more shallow, but it's still not that bad. You'll get a little bit of a smile after a couple of sharpenings. I did lay this one back to 18 degrees. I think I might actually take it to 17. I was worried because I thought it was going to be a little bit thicker, but it actually had started to perform so well at 18 degrees that I think I am going to try to lay it back to 17, which is what I think the majority of Spydercos come at 17 degrees, and with the higher heat treat, that 17 degrees is like 20 degrees on like a 59 to 60 to 61 heat treat. So it's a little bit tougher, right? And it's going to hold that edge a little bit longer. Button lock on this is really well done. I have really enjoyed this. This is an excellent example of this knife as stayed centered. I only once had to tighten down a little bit on the pivot from flipping it so much. Again, it's performed really well. It has a beautiful stone wash on there, and it really does mask a lot. Really good geometry. This reminds me of the Beacon a little bit. It's just a little bit chunkier because it's on steel liners with the wood scales covering the steel liners. Reversible black hardware, looks good. Definitely lots of milling in there. It has the lanyard bar on the back, so that is out of the way. And then I did pick up the banter pocket clip for the Chevalier. Reason I don't do it for the Conspirator is because the Conspirator is a little bit deeper, but it is a cheap option because I think it's like $10, and I will leave that linked in the description below for you guys in case you want to do that. But ceramic bearings, man, this thing just has really good action. Such a great price And again, their 14C is done really well, super duper slicey. It is a steel that is easy to maintain and easy to lay back the edge on if you're trying to learn. This is a steel that's not going to frustrate you. It's going to cooperate really well. I do have a little bit more of a working finish on my edge. I didn't really polish it up. You can see a little bit of the discoloration where it's not perfectly even, but I just need it to cut through the materials that I'm using it on. So the edges I'm putting on there, they're really slicey. Don't get me wrong, it goes through paper and cardboard really well, but it's not like a hair splitting edge. It's just a really sharp edge, and it works really well for me. So that is the number one top carried knife for May. The thing that I did want to talk about were heat treats. When manufacturers are saying that their heat treats start at a 58 or a 59, that is just going to equate to an edge that doesn't retain for very long, and it's just a little bit more softer for sharpening, so it takes a little bit more precision and a little bit more of a keen eye to pay attention to that edge when you're laying that edge down. And that was the thing that I wanted to talk about, because I feel like people overlook Spyderco, even ZT starts theirs at 59, and if you look at like ProTech, which really surprised me, ProTech's heat treat on their 20CV, from what I could find, starts as low as 58. And I was really shocked by that. I felt like the Malibus that I've had that have performed really well, but I really, I don't use those as much for the heavier duty stuff like I do my ZT and my Spyderco. And I definitely want to say like the 20CV on the 0562 and the Skyline that I have from ZT, they have really held an edge really nicely. I have, stropped them a little bit after using them just to kind of manage them to keep them from falling out too fast, but I've not had to sharpen this knife, and again, it has performed really well. It has a really nice toothy edge, and it hasn't chipped, so I'm assuming I must be closer to the 61 end of the spectrum. Spyderco advertises that they also run a 59 to 61 range, but there has been independent testing that shows that they're actually like 62 on average. There might be some 62 and a half, 63. There's even been some steels that they've done that have been 64 and 65 on the heat treat for those steels. So they do recognize, I feel like, from the testing and things that I've seen on Spyderco, they do pay attention to what metal they're using, what steel they're using, and how to heat treat it. The edge on here has, just like the Yojimbo 2, just like the Smock, which is a Tawan factory knife, the edges have come even. I don't see too much uneven. This one might be a touch shorter. Maybe there's a little bit more here. It is really hard to tell by the naked eye. But it's really well done. It is a fantastic knife. The action for being on phosphor bronze washers, which is less susceptible to clogging from dirt and debris like sand, dust, and if you're opening bags of mulch, just things that might have debris that could have stuff kind of kick back to the pivot, this is less susceptible to affect the action on that phosphor bronze washer. And I know that I've mentioned that in many other videos, but Spyderco's definitely right now doing it best. I kept my ZT0562 because I do like ZT as a company, even though they've kind of been going through some motions and some things, and some of their designs are not as well received because they're trying to be too different sometimes. I think they need to take a note from Wii, who was really far out there, and then they overcorrected and really toned it down and had a lot of more subdued designs, and then they've come back and they've built some things that are kind of in between. The Roxy is definitely one of them. I got this late in May, which is why it probably didn't make the list, but I think this is a great design. I really like the way that this looks. It's not too over the top. I think it's very interesting. I love the tones from having the bronze or bronze colored I guess it's bronze colored hardware on there, and then their stone wash is really well done. I think ZT could benefit from that. While some of their older designs might be a little bit more boring, not quite as exciting as some of the stuff that's out there. Their build quality and the performance of their steels and everything are really, really good. So I think that if they could get a few designs, like I think the Launch 14 is a really interesting design. I wish it wasn't Launch being automatic is fine, but I wish they would do more unassisted knives. And I really wish that some of their in-house designs, I think this is one of their in-house, you can tell by the by that. I don't know quite what that is, but I know that means it's their in-house design. But again, their stonewash, really well done. I love their stonewash finish, and I think they do a really good job. So I'd love to see them kind of find a good spot where they were probably a little bit better received for their designs and get away a little bit from the Speed Safe Assist product. I would love to see them just, making knives like this ZTO 562, like that Skyline, like the Bare Knuckle, which have great action. I'd love to see that. And some of their designs, even though they're producing them in their Chinese factory, some of their designs look really good that they're making here lately. So I hope they continue to do that. And I hope Demco can talk to their Tawan plant, get this bumped up to a minimal of 61. I think that would make it, I know it would make it harder to, the price, to justify the price, but one of the things that I noticed that they did with the 3Vs to only bump it up $40 is it came in a plastic case as opposed to a taco in a box, which was a really great presentation. But honestly, the knife is more important than the presentation. I really appreciate that presentation, but I really didn't care that it came in like this little 3D plastic box, because I was getting a more premium steel at a very good price. And I really don't care about the Grivery because I'm the type to customize, but honestly their Grivery, the bidirectional pattern on it is really good. So I'd like to see manufacturers just bump it up to 61 at minimal. I think that would go a long way. I think 61 is going to make a huge difference from 58. I think you can tell that difference. But think about that when you're griping about the price and you're like, oh, I can pick up this, Chinese, here we go, this Tucson with M390 carbon fiber titanium that's milled with a milled pocket clip for $150. This M390 probably isn't even, it's probably going to be comparable to that 14C28N as far as edge retention. It is not going to compete. It is not going to compete with this 20CV from ZT or a 20CV from Spyderco even. It's not even going to come close to that type of edge retention. It'll take a good edge. It's just not going to hold it for long. You're going to have to maintenance this a little bit more often. But again, I get the appeal for that, and I would say this probably is like a 58 to 59 heat treat on this, because they start at 58 on Tucson, and again, you're starting at 59 on that ZT, and I think I got an example that probably has 61 because the edge on it just has really performed well. Anyway, that's just I wanted to touch on that. After going over my top list, is that I think people don't take heat treat into consideration enough when they talk about the price on these knives, and I'd love to see the U.S. manufacturers put that standard at 61. I'd love to see all of them do it, but I would love to see the U.S. manufacturers, since they're touting support, U.S. if you're a U.S. buyer, and their price is a little bit higher. I'd love to see them do what Spyderco's doing. I think they're, probably they're advertising that they start at 59, but any testing I've ever seen nothing has been under 62. Not that I know of. If you have, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, leave a like, consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed, and if you are, thank you for the support. Everyone, make sure that notification bell is set to all. Links in the description. Using those helps the channel, and I hope all of you have a fantastic week. And until next time, guys, peace.